All right, 6 o'clock. We'll call to order the regular school board meeting here for Woodford County Public Schools. It's March 24th at 6 p.m. Roll call. All members of the board are here in person. And I would like to call Finley Willis up to do our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Finley. All right, do we have any proposed amendments to the agenda?
Yes, I would like to add under discussion SRO information updates so that we can hear some information about that in an open meeting and possibly be able to discuss that before any changes are made.
Any other discussion on that? All right, so we'll add that to item B under discussion item SRO updates. Now we have the superintendent's report. Mr. Atkins.
I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. Excited to hear and see this presentation from Huntertown. Excited to hear our kids. And Finley, thank you very much. You did a great job with that. Very, very proud of the work that you guys have done. Excited to see what you got going on over at Huntertown. Weather's finally turned. We're able to get back into school on a regular basis, which is a good thing. I know Mom and Dad's love to have everybody back, but we love to have everybody back as well. We love to see our kids, and you know, we can't teach you if you're not there, so it's very important for us to have you there. Our students, and if you look across the district, we're having spring performances everywhere. I got to see Shrek today. I think we had Winnie the Pooh last week. We've had several, our bands, our choirs, orchestras have had their assessments, and you know, we've done really well with all those. It's exciting to see our kids perform. If you get a chance to get out, I will say Shrek was very very entertaining this morning, and I promise you'll laugh till your sides hurt with that one. It was a really good one. Our athletics have transitioned from our winter sports to our spring sports, which basically means basketball is over. We had a really good girls season this year. I love the work that Coach Easton's doing. I think she's really turned our program around and putting us back on the winning road and back on the map. She's probably won more games this year than we have over the last three. So she's made the regional tournament for the first time since we've been in the 8th region. So done a really good job. Our boys basketball team had a pretty good season if you look at it. We beat 4 of the 16 teams that are in the state tournament this week. So, and really probably should have beat 5 of them because one of them got knocked out on the last second shot. But we just, you know, we play in a pretty tough district, and it's sometimes it's hard to overcome all that. But we had a good season all the way around. Wrestling, I mean, I could go on and name all the things going on, but you know, right now we're seeing our baseball, lacrosse, softball, everything's just really energized. By the way, our lacrosse team's undefeated again so far. They're 4-0, I think. So they're really on fire, doing a great job. Last week we were notified of the comprehensive literacy grant that we received. Excited to see that. We were one of the 40 districts across the state with the new emphasis being put on literacy through the legislature. It was a great opportunity for us to receive one of these grants. So it's $1.5 million. That's very exciting to see what the instructional department will do with that, and just a great opportunity for our kids, and a great opportunity for us to provide more support. The last day of school as of now is May 23rd. That is the Friday before is it Memorial Day? I get the two mixed up, Memorial Day and Labor Day, but it's Memorial Day. And then we'll have our graduation Saturday morning. I think it's scheduled, our high school graduation is scheduled for Saturday morning at 10 a.m. at the stadium. So excited for our graduates. Just touch on a little bit of the impact of our Portrait of a Learner. And I hear our students out here, and they're talking about, you know, the different characteristics of the Portrait of a Learner and everything that's going on with that. My wife attended a training this morning in Ashland that was being done by KDE, being provided, and it was about vibrant learning. And she said the trainers consistently talked about what was going on in Woodford County. Now, not just Woodford County, but several other districts, but she said they focused on Woodford County and sending groups here, and we've had several groups come, and also not just our vibrant learning experiences in the classroom or our project-based learning, but also our Portrait of a Learner. So those things have really taken off. I think, you know, we've been very well recognized across the state, especially here in Central Kentucky, for our Portrait of a Learner and the work we're doing in the classroom. So that's what our kids are here to talk to us today about. But it's just been a very impactful, not just with our instruction, but where the rubber meets the road in the classroom with the kids. The kids, I can assure you, are much more interested in projects, project-based learning, working research, than they are in a sit and get method. So anyway, hats off to the instruction team. Another great job. Excited to see our kids and just excited to move on through the meeting. So thank you all for being here.
All right, thank you, Mr. Atkins. Next, we're going to do our good news report, and Ms. McCowan, I'll start over with you.
All right, thank you. Just one thing that I wanted to mention is that we had 8 of our teachers that received the UK College of Education Teacher Who Made a Difference Award, and that's something that's very special. I just want to congratulate those 8 teachers. They are Jen Brown with Safe Harbor, Brittany Collins with WCMS, Sarah Congleton at Huntertown, Tori Coyle and Scott Ellis at WCHS, Amy Gordon at Northside, Crystal Harvey, Huntertown, and Michelle Lacefield at Southside. So just congratulations to those educators. We're very lucky to have them here in Woodford County, and I appreciate all of their hard work. That's all.
Mr. Wilson?
A couple of weeks ago, I rode with Mr. Atkins to Lawrenceburg, Anderson County High School to attend the Woodford County, Spencer County District basketball game. And it was so much fun. The gym was full, the people screaming and hollering. It was a close game, back and forth. Our band was there, our students were there. And it was just a joy to be around them. Anytime I'm around our students and our staff and parents, it's a great feeling to wear that WC on your chest, knowing, let everybody know you're from Woodford County. And one day last week, I decided to walk on the track outside, and the track team was out there practicing, and they were so polite and nice. Yes, sir. No, sir. It's just a privilege to be around them, and that's the good news I have.
Dr. Gould?
Hello, everyone. I'm excited to see so many Huntertown students, so many neighbors and friends out in the audience. It's good to see your faces, and I'm excited for Huntertown's presentation today. I wanted to share that I was able to attend the Woodford County Middle School Orchestra. I cannot remember the acronym, KE. Thank you, I appreciate that. See their performance and see them all receive distinguished, and it's my understanding that our band also received distinguished across the board, so I'm super proud of those talented young men and women who had the opportunity to play and get recognized for their talents. So it was a great day. And I'm just really excited for, again, spring sports, and all of our athletes are doing really well, and also our middle school academic team went to state, and they performed very well and had some awards given by the governor. So our kids are just doing many amazing things across our district. So,
Ms. Springate?
Well, I think I'll just share that April is National Child Abuse Prevention Month, so there should be a lot of different events and ways that families can get out and support that work. And then there's also a COSPA mental health services webinar next month. I think it's free. They're usually online if anybody's interested in that. So.
Yeah, and for me, I also got to attend the Winnie the Pooh show that Simmons put on recently, which was great. And I just have to say, it's so good to be a part of a district that focuses on athletics, academics, and the arts. That's not something that all school districts do, and that we can give that to our students and just promote whatever their passions are. It means a lot to be a part of this and a parent in this district as well. So really appreciate all the effort that everyone puts across the board into those different features of Woodford County. All right. Now let's get to Huntertown Student Defense of Learning presentation.
Gotta raise this thing up a little bit. Before I get started, I just want to thank our current Board of Ed, as well as our previous Board of Education members. I came here 13 years ago as a teacher that also coached basketball, and because of our commitment to hire excellent educators, excellent leaders, I believe that's why I find myself in the position I am today, leading Huntertown Elementary. So I appreciate your all's commitment to that, to the education of our kids, and to the support of our teachers. Just real quick, I think one of the things, or one of the many things that makes Huntertown so special, I think you can look behind and see that. We have some amazing, pretty good-looking men and women behind us, young men and young women that have come here to showcase their talents and what they've been working on. We've got supportive parents that, in a moment's notice, we called and said, hey, can you show up on a Monday night in March at 6 o'clock, last minute, and bring your kids to showcase what they're doing in our schools? And they said yes, without hesitation. And then if you look further back, you see several teachers that are here to support those kids. And I think that just, in this small sample, I think that just speaks holistically to what we have going on in Huntertown. So I'm excited to showcase our students, our families, and our parents as well. So we are going to begin. Tyler, is it? Or no, this is Charlie. Charlie, this is you. Charlie Oates is going to lead us in his little project. So he's going to step up and introduce himself, introduce his project, and blow you all away.
Thank you. I'm Charles Oates from Huntertown Elementary School. My teacher and principal thought it would be cool if I presented in front of y'all, so here it is. The Amazing Life of Lemmings by Charles. Fun facts: lemmings are good runners and swimmers. Their habitat is they live in North Canada. They live in burrows with bathrooms and bedrooms. Their diet is they are herbivores. That means they eat moss and plants. Their appearance is they have fur that is very thick. Lemmings' feet grow smaller in summer and bigger in winter. Habitat, I also forgot to add desert, so it shows one coming out of a burrow where they live on the map, and one standing up in the Arctic, another one in the desert, and another one in the Arctic. Diet, plants, moss, and that lemming in the corner just looks like he's hungry. Appearance, there's a sketch with lemmings with smaller feet and bigger feet. I labeled larger feet and smaller feet for the ones on the right side. Conclusion, I chose this animal because one of my favorite TV shows is titled Grizzy and the Lemmings. I also chose them because I enjoy learning about them and think they're fascinating creatures. Meet the author. This is just some stuff about me. Questions? What?
Why do you suppose they have larger and smaller feet in the seasons?
What? Wait. Their feet grow smaller and bigger in winter.
Any reason why?
I don't know. Ask them.
That's your next problem.
No, just ask them. Any other questions?
I think we're good.
From my understanding, I believe this is the beginning parts of this project. I think there is an additional step, but Charlie was just way ahead of schedule, so we were able to get him up here ahead of time. So our next presenter is going to be Mr. Tyler Warren. Do you want me to show them, or do you want me to hold it this way? I'll do both.
I will be presenting you about James Monroe, and I will be telling you facts in his lifetime of James Monroe. And half my entire class, we researched one person. We all did it by ourselves. So, this is background. James Monroe was more than just a president. James was also known as Heir of Good Feelings. He was born on April 28, 1758, Westmoreland, Virginia. He was married to Isabel Courtenay Monroe. Before he
became a president. He was a boxer, a lawyer, and joined the Army. In the White House, James was the 5th President of the United States of America. He was elected in the year 1817. Daniel D. Tompkins served as James's Vice President. James was a member of the Democratic Party, I think was it? Democratic Party. James Monroe was a very interesting man. I am about to tell you a couple facts about James. His daughter was married in the White House. Another fact is he was the 5th president. There is one more fact about James. He was shot, but he survived. These are some facts about James. My president is quotable. A king without power is an absurdity. An absurdity. I forget that word every time. My president was a good president for many reasons. One reason was he went to war with George Washington and won against the British. He was 16 when he was in the war. After that, he left the army and became a lawyer. Timeline, April 28, 1758, James Monroe was born. February 16, 1786, James Monroe was married. March 4th, 1817, March 4th, 1825, James Monroe served as president. July 4th, 1831, James Monroe sadly died. And then my bibliography was, I used a book and then 2 websites. And then this is the writing we first did before we started typing on our Chromebook of our slides, and people needed help on this a lot.
All right, and then our last one, going back to when we talked about the portrait of the learner and the pathways, one of the things that we have started to talk about, but we're not quite there yet, maybe not everywhere, is our defensive learning. And our 5th graders have actually, they're a little bit ahead of the game, and this is something that our 5th graders started last year, so you're gonna get a lot of information about the Spring Cake Wars. And it all ties back to our portrait of the learner and our defensive learning. So our plethora of 5th graders are going to inform you all.
Hello everyone, my name is Charlotte Wiley and I'm a 5th grader at Huntertown Elementary. I'm here to tell you all about our 2nd annual Spring Cake Wars. This isn't just about baking. It's about teamwork, creativity, and showing off everything we've learned this year. We're putting our writing skills, synthesis, analogies, and text evidence to the test. Learning really is the icing on the cake. On April 11th, 81 of us will work together in teams to create amazing spring-themed cakes. But here's the twist. We have to defend our learning by explaining our creative process and proving we've mastered key academic skills. Sounds cool, right?
Hi, I'm Finley Willis, and I can't wait for Cake Wars. Here's what makes this event so exciting. We will be working together in teams to design and decorate a spring-themed cake. Timmy Norman, an incredible cake artist from Is It Cake, will be there for a special demonstration. Our cakes will be judged by you, our teachers, younger classmates, and community members. Guest judges will help us choose the ultimate winning cake. We'd love for you to join us on April 11th from 12 to 1:30 to see our creativity in action and vote for your favorite masterpiece.
Hi, I'm Emma Nally, and I'm so excited to share why this event is such a big deal. At Huntertown Elementary, we know that teamwork, problem solving, and creativity are the key ingredients for success. Cake Wars isn't just about making something delicious. It's about using everything we've learned in a fun and exciting way. Through Cake Wars, we're proving that we are creative problem solvers, coming up with unique cake designs and solving challenges, empathetic communicators, working together and sharing ideas, reflective collaborators, helping each other and learning as we grow, responsible contributors, using what we've learned in meaningful ways, and resilient learners, pushing through challenges and improving along the way.
Hi, I'm Macy Johnson. Have you ever thought about what it means to be a good citizen? Is it about being kind, following the rules, or working well with others? Studies show that 86% of employees believe that teamwork is super important, and teams that collaborate well are 50% more productive than those who don't. As a person who plays lots of sports, I know that teamwork isn't just about learning content. It's about working together, trusting each other, and pushing ourselves to be better. Whether on the field or in the classroom, success comes from supporting one another and giving it our all.
Hi, I'm Stafford, and at Huntertown we follow the Wildcat Way, which means we focus on being respectful, responsible, and safe every day, no matter where we are, if we're in the classroom, outside, or in the cafeteria. Cake Wars are a chance to prove that teamwork and collaboration can make a real difference.
Hi, I'm James Hill, and we need you guys to help us crown the winning cake. As a guest judge, you'll get a front row seat to all the actions. See our hard work up close and help decide which cake takes home the grand prize. Save the date and mark your calendars for April 11th, 2025, and join us for a fun, unforgettable event. Let us know if you can make it, and we'll love to have you here. See you at Cake Wars!
Come on, you guys crushed it. That was amazing. Thank you so much for presenting that.
Mr. Chairman, they reminded me of the people on Shark Tank that are selling their product to the judges. You all did a fantastic job.
Yes, wonderful.
And I'm going to do my best to be there to help judge. Will there be any cake to eat? Yes. Count me in. I'll be there. Thank you, guys.
And I
very much.
believe do y'all have flyers to hand out to them?
Perfect.
Awesome. Thank you.
So I didn't plan this out very well. I should have spoke first and then let them go.
Yeah, it's tough to follow. Yeah.
I just had a few more details, bits of information to add to it about what's going on at Huntertown. I know you guys have been given access to our CSIP, and you've seen the data, so I didn't want to touch on that too much. Just wanted to kind of update you on where we are as a school. Again, you can kind of see what we got going on. I wish I could take credit for that. I can't. That is truly the work and effort of those kids and those students and what they're doing inside our walls. This being my first year at Huntertown, I came in as a new administrator. A lot of new learning, a lot of new things taking place this year with our new reading curriculum, our new SEL, new position, new person, a lot of new. So started off the year, just kind of took our focus on looking at our Tier 1 instruction, just what do we got going on at Huntertown, and you can see we got a lot of great things. As we kind of progressed through the year, we talked as a staff, and we decided what is it at Huntertown that's the most important thing that impacts our student learning, and so we've decided to narrow that focus, and we're really going to kind of narrow it down and focus on our deeper learning, making sure that our students have opportunities like this more frequently, making sure our students have opportunities towards authentic example or authentic assessments and things like that. We focused heavily on our climate and culture, not just of the climate and culture of our staff, but we've really been working hard. We've been pulling a lot of data. We've been surveying our kids, really trying to figure out what it is about Huntertown that they like and what they don't. A lot of classrooms are doing those restorative circles, having those conversations, those real world authentic conversations, and we're really trying to focus and pinpoint on small ways that we can make our school a better place. And then lastly, we had a focus on our SEL. That was another area that our staff felt was important to the learning of our students, and that's with our intentional implementation of our new Character Strong program. We've got small groups throughout our building, and continue to try to find ways that we can get our students involved, because, you know, that sense of belonging is one of the most important ways, or one of the key indicators of successful schools. So without throwing a lot of numbers, that's just kind of where we are as a staff. Now, one of the things that we did is recently we took a group of staff down to Ron Clark Academy, and Ms. Gold, I know we had a chance to talk about this, but you talk about just an awe-inspiring moment. It was myself and 3 teachers, and we went down there. I've got one of my staff crying, another one, you know, whipping and nay-naying, and another one just glowing. You can't help but bring that stuff back. So one of the things that we did when we came back, you can see over here, we call them our 1%ers. And so we invited our teachers, all of our staff, to try to find those things that would make a difference in our teaching related to the Portrait of a Learner, things that were free and things that were easy to implement. And so got a couple examples. Josh, do you have to click those, or do I need to do it?
We are learning how to analyze and interpret data of a fossil to provide evidence of the organisms and the environments in which they live long ago. All right.
So that was just one example. Rather than just reading a learning target, kids acted out, so they actually are connecting, making that connection with those learning targets. Go ahead if you want to do the next one.
This is the thorn, and that is the thistle. T-H. T-H. W-H. W-H.
This teacher, one of her 1%ers was to get her kids up and moving and to use music and motions to connect her students to learning. Next one, Josh.
Okay, here we go. We are learning how to identify evidence from patterns in rock formations and fossils in rock layers to support an explanation for changes in a landscape over time. Excellent job.
That was my same teacher twice. Again, just making those motions and connections. Go ahead, Mr. Rayburn.
We have been in kindergarten.
Let's do it one more time. Here we go. Ready?
We have been in kindergarten.
One more time. Eyes up this way. Ready? Go.
We have been in kindergarten.
Good job.
Go to the next one, Mr. Rayburn, because I know.
Let's do it one more time.
Yeah. Go to the next one.
Ben.
Next one. Go ahead, Paul.
Hi, I'm Kayla. Ben.
There was one, I don't know why it's not included, but Miss Harden's class, she's been, again, using the motions, but it was really neat. The video was actually, the kids were taking an assessment. Maybe it's better that we didn't show it because there's one little girl that was trying to get some assistance during the test, so it's probably best we didn't show it. But it was neat because while they're taking the test, you can see the kids at their desk doing all the motions, trying to recall that information and learning. So again, I took more time than I anticipated, but I'm glad you guys got to get just a small glimpse of what we got going on in Huntertown. And again, hopefully we get to see you guys at Cake Wars, and I appreciate y'all's time.
Thank you all. Thank you all for coming tonight. We enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
Yes, you all did an amazing job. Very
Very
proud.
good.
Thank you. Looks like your first year's going well, and thank you everybody for coming to be a part of tonight.
Am I allowed to go ahead and release them if they want to go?
Sure, yeah,
Hold on one
absolutely.
second, hold on.
Oh.
Research has shown that when we attach motions or movements to vocabulary or ideas, then it helps us to retain that. And this came from Ron Clark Academy. So these are things that are being embedded in our classrooms that are just completely different from what we have previously done in instruction. Now, I know some of you guys have been worked on some science. You had some science. I got a joke for you. What do you call a deer with no eyes? No idea. Maybe it wasn't as funny. Okay, I got you. Thank you all very much.
Oh, pity laughs, love it. Thank you, have a great night. All right. Well, next up, we are going to go to our new high school project update. Clay?
I'm not going to tell any jokes. That was a tough crowd, wasn't it? High school update will be pretty quick. The construction cost to date, the forthcoming change order that we'll talk about next has been included in the cost to date, the $61,116,204.48. Billed to date through February would be $59,332,279.85. That's 97% complete. Again, that 3% is retainage on contractors. There has been a couple released just because they have no punch items. They've been complete, like the steel erector for months and months. So, and then of course the remaining punch items. Pretty much all punch items have been completed that we're not planning to complete on spring break. So we have like the gym flooring contractor that's been coordinated. They plan to be in there over spring break to do the screening and coating to the gym floor. There's numerous casework pieces that will be installed, a few door hardware items, but following spring break, we expect RTA to be back to do their post walk, their back punch, and identify any items that maybe we're saying is corrected, but they think needs more. They'll issue that list, and if there's any remaining items, those will be completed. Exterior punch, that again, like all the concrete, any concrete repair, asphalt repair, all that will be done over spring break. And again, all exterior work right now, we are limited by weather. We got a lot of areas prepped 2 weeks ago. We had a pretty dry spree, so a lot of areas got prepped but have not been seeded or sodded yet because it rained again. So we really need just a dry week or two to get that knocked out, but they'll keep making progress as the weather allows on the exterior. Contingency log, the PRs that are coming before you tonight, those are included. That puts the total use to date at $871,989.59, which is 29%. The remaining contingency for the high school is $2,144,700.92. Again, that's construction cost only, which is the items that I'm able to track. For the track and field, the total construction cost, everything remains the same as far as the project costs, construction costs. The build to date through February is $4,135,733.62. That's 76% complete. So the revised substantial completion, this will be a little tricky, and I think an ongoing conversation that we can kind of hone in on how you all would like to do things. But when we originally did the bleacher PR back in November of '24, That was going off the time that we had been provided by Toad Vine as far as the lead time and the install time. So all we could do is project kind of when it was possible to finish. The bleachers are arriving Wednesday, which is the 26th, and Toad Vine is saying it's a 6 to 8 week install. So what that means is that the bleacher area, there is no way for it to be complete before, I put worst case scenario, so that would be 8 weeks starting on Wednesday. That would put it at June 3rd, 2025. That does not mean the whole project will not be complete. I think I talked about last time how the building inspector would allow like the track and field to be used and all that. So I don't want that to be like a big, you know, it simply means what it means. The bleacher area, that footprint cannot be completed until then. Like the electrician will need about a week and a half to finish once the bleachers are installed, because there's wiring and conduit and controls and stuff running from there to the concession and restroom. But you know, if there's dates that Mr. Swingle or the district needs as far as access to certain things, that's not going to be a problem. It's just going to be the bleacher area that drags on longer than we anticipated, and we can't do anything about the bleacher arrival. So any questions on that?
I have a question about sodding around the area.
Mhm.
I'm assuming that sodding can't be done until the bleachers are
Yeah,
installed. And then that
they'll
puts
do a
us-
lot of it, but right in that front area between like the access and the concession restroom, we'll probably hold off on most of that because the amount of lulls and the cranes and stuff that'll be there. So
Well, I was just wondering about laying sod as we're entering in the more summer months and that sort of thing, if that would be, do we have provisions that can keep that sod alive
So-
during that time?
so-
So we don't have to replace it.
in that area, there will be very little, and it's actually going to be seed and straw. When you look at the amount of gravel area under the bleachers, the amount of grass will be very limited in the area we're going to leave out. So, you know, I think it can go either way. I think it's going to be a small enough area to where they can keep it watered and it can grow, or I think you could wait till a little better weather and then plant it. It's just going to be a small area. Everything else, barring that there's some dry windows, if we get one dry window in April, I think we can make it as far as getting it everywhere else and getting it seeded. So there is sod up by the high jump area. There's a small area of sod. And so we're anticipating it to be installed when we have this first dry window. Yep. Anything else? We'll go through
Thank
the
you.
no changes to the contingency. In the past 30 days, gypboard has been installed and finished, site drainage completed, stainless countertops installed, bleacher foundations completed, bleacher drainage completed, and metal trim and soffit and gutters are at 50% complete. In the 30-day look ahead, complete the rubber surfacing, complete concession restroom building, complete site concrete, and spread topsoil and seed and sod. I did skip over when I said site concrete. Another item is we proposed adding some sidewalk at the bleacher area that connects to the concession. That way, if like a side-by-side or, you know, foot traffic, whatever, carrying stored material, they have a continuous sidewalk through the bleachers. So that's another item that's being priced at the moment, and, you know, will be, again, that'll be complete before that June 3rd date should be, but it's on the table, so that'll be forthcoming as well. You can see the metal trim, the downspouts are installed, and they're working on the gutters. They're at the front of the concession. Stainless countertops are now installed at the cooling doors. All the site concrete in front of the bleacher area is complete, and you can see the foundations are installed there. There's your restroom. All they like there is fixtures and light fixtures and plumbing fixtures. There's your chase. And that's it. I couldn't get an aerial shot because of the wind, so sorry about that, but it's been pretty windy. Any other questions?
My question would be just around maintaining the space and using the space. So will we have it, Mr. Adkins, do you think that there will be enough, or maybe this is a question for Mr. Reed, but enough like staff, custodial staff, to make sure that the restrooms and things like that, because we've never had anything like this at this high school. So I was just wondering, moving forward, do we have the complement that we need to be able to maintain it and keep things nice and clean?
Sure, and that's a good question. When you look at the size of the new high school as well, the square footage is larger there than here. And your custodial staff is usually based on 20,000 square feet. I think it's 20,000 per one custodial staff. So we're probably going to have to evaluate what that looks like anyway, simply because of the size of the new high school. So,
Yeah.
But again, the concession stand is beautiful simply because it's located so closely to the middle school that now if they could host football games there and have a concession and restrooms there. I know that's been just a bad situation for everyone over there at the middle school. So hopefully this will help take some of the pressure off there, where they'll actually have a concession and they can do those things. The only thing they won't be able to use it for will be baseball and softball. But hopefully soccer, lacrosse, football, they can go ahead and do that. I know we've had Mr. Smith order the mats that cover the track so cleats don't destroy our track surface and those types of things. So we're just excited about the possibilities with it. But yeah, very good question, because again, there is an increase in size there from this facility just to that facility. So the outside facility too will also add a little more. So yeah, something we will evaluate.
Well, I think about the frequency of use too. I mean, this is a wonderful thing to have included, but if it's going to be open during not only meets but also practices, and just having someone to have an eye on that space consistently, whose responsibility. I guess that would be a policy maybe of the middle school and high school to join together in their athletic directors to develop that, or
my thoughts on that would be whoever has the event, that's the administration then would oversee that. They typically, well, you know, Dr. Gould, you've attended events, and there's always somebody there from every school, well, from this school, so that's what we would hope. Yeah.
Okay.
Good question too.
All right. Anybody got any more questions? All right, then we'll move on to
Yep.
change order. Yep, for the next change order.
Okay. I did see on the agenda it said for phase 2, but this is changes at the high school. So I've tried to get out of the phase terminology, but it is for the high school. So the first one is PR 79. That's band striping at the student parking lot. That cost would be $5,749. They're hoping to complete that over spring break. They got the stencils ordered, and the last I spoke to them, which was a couple days ago, they felt like they was going to make it in time to complete if approved tonight. PR 80 is additional hose bib at the greenhouse. Ms. Probst had requested that a additional hose bib be added on like the east side of the greenhouse. There was only one designed at the west side. So that's what that is. It was roughly 50 feet of copper pipe that had to be added. The cost of that was $1,250. PR 81 is additional power. Ms. Probst requested a receptacle be added at the stairway outside the ag classrooms for a flower cooler. Storage 154S, three additional receptacles were requested there. And then the revisions to the kitchen power is there's some pass-through ovens that keep tripping all the time. And so after several conversations with CMTA, they think it's because of the sensitivity of the GFCIs that those pass-throughs are connected to. And basically, my understanding is it's a problem for the staff constantly because those are tripping. So they propose changing those to hardwired. That way eliminates that problem. They'll be hardwired above ceilings, so there's no worry of somebody unplugging them with wet hands and getting electrocuted. So the cost of those changes to the electrical scope would be $10,074.31. PR 82 is to add a vehicular gate at the Tyrone Pike entrance, which is required by KYTC. That's, I don't know if you want to speak on what they've said, but it's a requirement.
It was actually in the initial plan, and there was really little explanation, and we knew that the other side of the campus was open, so we just took it out. So we got that as an add back. The highway department says we need to put it back in because they want it to be used to limit traffic in and out of Tyrone Pike. So we're going to add that back. When it was approved, the entrance was approved, it was right in, right out only, am I correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Correct.
And so they've got a little concern with that, the right in, right out. We're going to have to get some signage up. We assumed they would provide that. I think from what we've been told, it falls on the owner. So we'll take care of that, and we'll get the gate up and move through that process. So.
Okay. So the cost of that gate, provided and installed, is $15,812.50. And then additional gym striping. There was additional, I'm sure by the coaches, striping requested for basketball and I believe volleyball as well.
Yeah, volleyball.
And the cost of that was $1,437.50. The total for all 5 proposal requests is $34,323.31. Any questions?
Can we go back to this gate situation? Is this like an electronic gate, or what kind of gate are we getting for that
It's just a
price?
big steel gate, galvanized. It's post on each side. It, in the attachment I sent, I'm pretty sure there's a detail on it that kind of gives the dimensions and the strength of the steel and all that, but it's not electronic.
And if you have traveled that area from Tyrone Pike over to the high school, the gate's actually located just this side of the three-way stop.
Yes.
It's probably 50 feet of this, 75 feet of the three-way stop. So it's not up at the road, it's back at the school.
Okay, I was assuming it was up at the road to prevent.
I would have
traffic.
assumed that too with the requirement, but it's actually located, in the design, it was located back at the three-way stop, so.
I thought it was, the picture that you
Yeah,
provided, I thought it
I
was
think-
closer to the road.
I think you're looking at so there was 2, it was shown twice. One was if the Tyrone Pike connection alternate wasn't accepted,
Okay.
then it was closer to the three-way, and if the Tyrone Pike connection alternate was accepted, it's not right on the road, but it's at the end of that guardrail, if I remember exactly where it's at.
And staff the high school staff will be responsible for locking and unlocking the gate, so.
So what is the function of the gate? To close it during the school day? Is that, and then to open it, like when will it be opened and closed? Because I'm sure people are gonna have questions about that.
Sure. We're not exact, we're still working through that with the highway department, so we really don't know yet.
Okay.
Our hope is that just through the school day, after we get up the signage, those types of things, then we'll see, from that point. That's what the traffic looks like, but right now, we're still kind of working through that with them.
So I'm assuming emergency vehicles would enter on Schoolhouse Road and
Yeah.
not through Tyrone, but would that impede access to fire EMS if needed, or if the gate was closed during the school day? Or would it serve another layer of protection at the gateway,
Well, from what we're told from the highway department, it's just to restrict traffic flow.
okay.
The access from Tyrone Pike is what, the way they've explained it to us.
So they're worried about people cutting through there during the day? Okay, okay.
And they're worried about traffic backup as well. I think they've had some complaints about traffic backup. But, if we have to lock that gate, traffic's gonna be considerably worse over on Fallen Springs.
Yes, and I'm worried about that as a middle school parent, trying to navigate pickup as it is. It's been pretty egregious at times, so
Yeah.
if it feels like that might be more of a complicated, and maybe this is not maybe it's, more people need to be brought into this conversation than we could work out tonight, but it just seems very concerning.
Sure. We've actually been working with the Versailles Police Department and the City of Versailles and the State Highway Department as well, so, yeah.
And if I've heard correctly, and I don't travel that way on Tyrone Pike, I travel more Schoolhouse Road and those outlets, but there has been concern about the backup during pickup and drop-off there. It doesn't seem like a gate would really remedy that. So I just wonder if the road department knows exactly what's.
We've been in conversation.
Sounds like you have conversations about it. But I would wonder if maybe that could get worked out before we invest how much
Yeah.
money in a gate
I don't think we have an option in the gate.
Yeah.
Yeah, the gate's required.
by the state?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
I
not an
think
option.
once you close the gate, though, they'll realize it, what I would think.
Yeah, and again, we've had our SROs over there. If folks there would just pull forward, they'd be off the road. Chief Sutton's been over, 3 days last week, 4 days whatever. I don't even recall. We've had, Josh Rayburn over there. We've had the transportation department over there. I've been over there, and those folks, they just don't want to pull forward, and they'll tell you they don't want to pull forward.
Well, people struggle with the stop sign too on Schoolhouse Road about with the buses coming and going, and now we've got parents going into the high school and then also the middle school too. So it is quite it's almost like you need a traffic director at the high school, middle school split there, as well as one on Falling Springs and McCowan's Ferry there. It just seems like there's a lot of but and Tyrone Pike as well, I guess. So it just seems like a lot of money to spend on a gate that may or may not be used in the long run. So that's why I was asking those questions and could cause concern.
That's why we took that initially.
Yeah, right, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think it might make sense to have a broader discussion about this, because it sounds like there's a lot of safety concerns and there are regulations and rules required and that sort of thing. But I do think it might be a good idea to have a broader discussion, because I have heard numerous complaints about the traffic and about the safety concerns and about just that entire area. So that might be something that we want to kind of have those discussions about.
To be perfectly honest, Ms. Springate, I don't think they're open to a lot of conversation. I think the highway department's gonna tell us what to do about it, and then that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, we absolutely have to do, what's required by law.
Yeah.
But again, I think there are probably some discussions we can have internally about how we drop off, what time we drop off, when we drop off, the rules around drop off, the education of the parents, the information being shared, all of those sorts of things, I think are things that we can absolutely control and should be having some good conversations, especially when we're talking about safety issues. And clearly those are safety issues when you're talking about that much traffic, that much congestion. And it could be, a matter of education. I know when we were in elementary school, we had the principal and the counselor came out and said, here's the new system and here's how we're gonna do it. And, really just kind of let us know as parents. So a lot of that, I think, maybe is just some information sharing, but some of it may be looking at it and seeing if there are better ways of doing things or different ways to do things. And so I think that's an important conversation to have.
Well, and I know we can't resolve this here because it's not our purview, but if we could even widen that area on Tyrone where there was a turning lane, I feel like that may be a good option, but that, again, that's not here nor there for us to decide. We can't widen a road, obviously, but it just seems like it's going to be an ongoing issue. So I just was bringing that up before we spend a lot of money on a gate that maybe may not be used. So sounds like we have to have it, so.
Yeah, we don't really have a choice on putting the gate in, but I think what you guys are bringing up as far as maybe we look at additional, individuals maybe directing traffic. Maybe we might be able to talk about when can we open it, when can we keep it closed. Now, how much leeway we have in that is yet to be decided, but I definitely think there are opportunities just to get more information. I do know that when all of this is going on, the district did put out a lot of great information and videos and tutorials on how the traffic would go. And I think there's an opportunity for parents and everybody to kind of review that as well, that went out if they didn't see it already. So that could be something we could re-educate too.
And I know the high school just did the singing pull forward and their singing signage at the middle school. But ultimately, people are going to make their choices.
Right.
I just feel like having traffic direction in those spaces, especially at the four-way stop, will be very beneficial for traffic flow. But that's just my personal opinion as a parent who's gone through that several times.
I wonder too, do we need to engage, because I'm sure that there were in the design stages of this project, but do we need to engage magistrates? I don't know if it's a state road, if it's a county road. I think Falling Springs is probably a state road, but maybe it would be important to include them in some of those conversations, because I know that there are lots of traffic studies, or at least a traffic study that's been happening just due to development and some things that are going to be coming into Woodford County. So it might be good just to check in with them and say, in addition to this development, you know, we've got our new school and these are some of the challenges. I don't know, just a thought.
That's a really good idea.
And I know a lot of work has gone into this. I mean, they've been talking about this in meeting and figuring out the logistics of this. So I know there has been a lot of work, and it might be the best that it can be at this time. So I do want to be cognizant of all the work that's gone into it so far. But that doesn't mean we can't ask questions and get information, and that's what we're here for. So maybe there'll be an opportunity for us to get updates or kind of what's gone into it so far and what some of the solutions have been. You know, I know we have our quarterly safety updates, so maybe that would be an opportunity to get some updates there too.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I wanted to ask about that because he mentioned it wasn't technically phase 2, but does that matter for us making a motion to approve off the agenda?
So it's listed that way on the agenda. The paperwork that is all
It is
attached to the
attached.
agenda is correct.
Okay.
So I think you would just make a motion to approve the change order as it's been presented to the
Okay.
board.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, got a motion by Mr. Wilson, second by Ms. McCowan. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes 5-0.
Thank you all.
Thank you. All right, next up, we have our instructional and equity report. Mr. Asher?
Good evening once again. 132nd day of instruction as we work towards the end of the year. Hard to believe it moves this fast. Yet again, had a school up here to demonstrate and very well our competencies of our portrait of learner. And what I found really, I don't know if unique, but just rewarding, you see the growth in the students from second grader to third grader, and then those fifth graders killing it, as you said, I think. So I'll get into that in just a little bit with my presentation. A couple things I did want to mention. Mr. Adkins had mentioned our literacy grant that we got, $1.5 million over 5 years. What's exciting about this one is it's 4 levels. A lot of times we talk about things at all 3 levels, elementary, middle, and high. It literally goes down birth to 5 as well. So that the portions of those monies, the distributions, I should say, are by percentage. The majority is spent at elementary level, with an even amount spent at middle and high, and then obviously the birth to 5. So exciting for that opportunity and that extra funding, obviously. The students mentioned Cake Wars, April 11th. That's a big day for us as well. Part of it will be the Cake Wars. And when I say big day for us, we'll have Aurora Institute is their name. They're a national nonprofit organization. They support education transformation. So Woodford County was one of 3 districts across the state selected for a case study that they are doing. So they'll actually be visiting us that day. So we put together a whole day. One will be a stop at Cake Wars. But not only will have the Aurora representatives, but also some state representatives that are related to this deeper learning work. And then we'll be bringing back our original deeper learning team teachers that started 3 years ago with us, part of that day. Couple different school visits, Huntertown being one, just again, to see the work in progress. And then at the very end of the day, to workshop with those teachers who kind of started it all, where we're taking this next in that strategic plan that I had mentioned before. So big day on Friday, April 11th for us. Let me go ahead and get into our paths to the portrait. You've seen this design, this logo many times, and I just want to go through it yet again, showing how each of these paths are taking shape this year. When we say deeper learning, it is instruction that incorporates those competencies. I love seeing the kids do the hand motions today, thanks to Miss Susan Tracy. That was her baby that she put out there, and it's good to see the kids buying into them. So deeper learning, essentially, kids are learning by problem solving, by collaborating, communicating, so on and so forth. Here are some examples over the course of the year. You may have seen some of those. I wanted to put them together collectively. Number one there, our kids are doing something called hexagonal thinking, where they're finding connections between the words that they are learning, the vocabulary terms. And the interesting thing about this is there's not really a right answer. They have to communicate, collaborate to make those connections. 2 and 3 show the Southside Elementary. There's a work site next door, and that's a deeper learning project for them, where they visited the work site and then took it inside to build a little project themselves. Number 4 is a crime scene of sorts, where a forensics class where they are breaking down the data and the evidence there to solve the crime. 5 and 6 are from the Purpose in Action project that you heard much about, and really that's the ultimate deeper learning project that really incorporates all those competencies. And then finally 7 is what we call our Deeper Learning Academy. Each year we'll host an academy that includes teachers from across the district to continue to build this understanding and capacity for delivering deeper learning instruction. You go to demonstrations, and that's a lot of what you saw today. That's the beginning of it, where they are exhibiting their learning. So it's not just they can tell you, but they can show you how they've mastered skills and their knowledge. Here's some examples from first semester. I need to update this, especially with Cake Wars and things like that coming up. 1 and 2 were some group project exhibitions that they did, where they had formed a colony. Newfound colony, and each of those students had a different role in the colony developed. There's Miss Taylor, Robin Taylor, the principal there. And 3 and 4 were more of individual exhibitions, where those students were their internal piece of how they demonstrated portrait of a learner, whether they felt they were strong as a resilient learner or reflective collaborator. They had to show, had to explain and defend their learning there. Tech and innovation is our next one. So that pretty much is the title. Like how do we incorporate technology, innovation to instruction, and how are we always looking forward and trying to be innovative with that? Here's some examples from there. Number 1 and 2 shows academy we have for that pathway as well. So Dr. Rayburn, along with our coaches there, lead a group of teachers, again, all 3 levels, on how to incorporate technology and innovation. And that focus area box that you see there in blue is what we mean, how that breaks down when we say focus on those areas. Number 3 was a presentation at one of our schools that looks like Southside perhaps, where obviously looking at the innovation of the robot dog there. Number 4 is a high school student who's become well versed in the laser cutter that might be. What is that, Mr. Rayburn? Dr. Rayburn? What is it? I was right? Good. Laser cutter, and he's become the resident expert of that. He actually can provide training on that. 5 is a VR, virtual reality field trip they're taking, and number 6 there, the early learning bus, which Ms. Johnson, that's her baby there, and looking to put that on the road soon. Career readiness. Important thing about this is it's not just at the high school level, it's K through 12. And those skills, all those soft skills, once again from the portrait of developing those and how those lead into career readiness. BizTown, we were able to send our 5th grades to that, and that was a big success over the past several weeks. Students loved it. Miss Bailey got to go. She loved it. She was really complimentary of it. Got some good pictures of it. So it was a big hit that we'll repeat next year. Number 2 is our reality store we do with our middle school. 3 and 4 shows our progression, or let me say advancement or enhancement is the right word, of our CTE programming we're trying to do to fit into career readiness. Number 5 is, again, our students who are part of Purpose in Action. And number 6, our Southside students. I love that picture, the shock and awe of seeing that big machine in motion. And then finally, community engagement, for obvious reasons, trying to build partnerships within our community to support our students in their education. And here are a number of ways that's being done. Number 1, that is Ruggles Sign. Number 2, our libraries, which have always been a big partner of ours. Number 3 is our GEMS program, and there's the Conservation District working to support that. And number 4, a volunteer working with our GEMS ladies there. Number 5, our Woodford Winds work continues. We plan to do an event in May, Sip and Share, kind of similar to what the Chamber does, but to invite them onto our turf now at our new high school, to bring our Woodford Winds community partners in, just to, if they haven't had a chance to tour yet, we'll do that, but we'll also just show them our progress that we've made, not only on the community engagement path, but all of our pathways, our paths to the portrait, I should say, so they can have a better understanding of it, and therefore find opportunities to support our students and support our schools. So yet another update on that I wanted to make sure you were aware of. Any questions about our paths to the portrait, what we're working on here?
I just wanted to give a shout out because I got to participate and volunteer at the BizTown event with the 5th graders, and it was fantastic. Probably one of the favorite things I've done, and just seeing how they have all these different mock businesses and all the students have different jobs, and just how they connected and made plans together, and you just kind of stay hands off and the kids take it away.
Did you have a specific role that day, or just
I was
chaperone?
working in City Hall, so there was a mayor, there was a like promotion manager to get people to vote, and so I was kind of chaperoning the group there. But they had Keeneland and they had Toyota, and
Chick-fil-A still?
Chick-fil-A, yeah, that was actually the popular one with all the kids, but
yeah, the cows, the stuffed cows, or no? When we did it several years, that was the hot item. They all wanted to get the stuffed cow.
They had all the swag, so it was a lot of fun, and the kids just loved it. So yeah.
Good. It's a good experience. So like I said, that's with our 5th grade. We'll continue that, supporting that and sending our 5th grade over there. Any other questions on that? I have one last update on our equity work. All right, we had our monthly meeting today. Actually, forgive me, we meet every other month. Majority of our time was spent with Dr. Roger Cleveland today, just continued learning on the topic of equity. And very good. As I mentioned, we've expanded our equity team. We have a great amount of diversity in roles for our classified staff, parents. We have a parent that is a teacher in another district, so just great perspective that we have on the team now, greater than we've ever had before. Dr. Cleveland, who I mentioned, is also active in Frankfurt, so we spent some time talking about legislation, which fortunately did not make it out of committee, so there is nothing on the docket that will restrict our work at the state level. There are questions about federal level, but to this point, it doesn't have impact on us. Met with Mr. Morgan several weeks ago just to talk about that. There were some scares around that, obviously, but at this point in time, nothing to restrict our work. I hope I'm correct in that. At this time, let's just say that.
Right, and we're continuing to monitor everything that's going on at the federal level. The district does a really good job of attempting to be inclusive while not making decisions based on protected classes, not discriminating against any protected class. So.
Right. All right, appreciate it. And ultimately, we just, again, re-emphasize that just equity is a process. So we have to continue with, the professional learning part, continue looking at our processes, that we are indeed equitable. We will be looking, one statement he said today was, let your data point out your inequities. And at our upcoming data meeting, we'll be looking at that. From the breakdown I've done, our number one challenge is our SES, free and reduced lunch population. That is our greatest gap, and we'll look at that at our April data meeting. So that concludes my report. Any questions that you may have? All right,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Next, do we have any public comment? All right. Moving on. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? All right. Motion by Mr. Wilson.
I had some questions about the consent agenda, a couple items.
I can second, and then we can have discussion.
Well, we don't really have discussion on the consent agenda typically, so that's kind of the point of it.
Well, I was looking at the code of conduct revisions, and I had a question about a couple of them.
I'm going to lean on you a little bit, Mr. Morgan, on...
So typically, the way to do that would be to make a motion to, when the chair calls for amendments to the agenda, to pull that out of the consent agenda,
Okay.
so there's separate discussion on it.
I'm so sorry. I am learning. I appreciate the direction, and I apologize I did not do that, but I do have some questions. I don't know.
Are your questions about item E?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, would you like for me to make another remove my
Can
original
we?
motion and make a motion to approve the consent agenda except for item E and place that under regular agenda under item F.
Is that okay to do?
Yes, because this is a regular meeting, not a special meeting.
Okay.
You can do that, and the chair can entertain that in their discretion.
All right, sounds good. Okay.
If you don't mind, you second it.
Sure. Second, I appreciate the
Yes.
flexibility here.
Absolutely.
I like the direction that we're headed.
All right.
We will cancel our first motion and I will make another motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item E, approve code of conduct, move that to item F on the regular agenda.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any
Thank
opposed?
you. Thank you for being flexible.
All right, seeing none. 5-0. All right, so that moves down to item F. Next, we have approve February financial report, treasurer's report. All right, we have a motion by Mr. Wilson. I'll second that. And do we have any discussion? I know Mr. Smith isn't here, he wasn't able to attend. For everybody that might be watching, he did provide that report to us. It's been made public. He also asked for any questions prior to this meeting. I don't believe I've seen anything come in, so just wanted to share that with the public.
Yeah, I reached out to Mr. Smith, and he was able to answer some of my questions. And mine, just for clarity, my questions were, looking at this time last fiscal year versus where we are right now with expenses and revenue. Revenue is down a couple $1 million, expenses are up a couple $1 million. So my question to Mr. Smith was about that. And he just explained that it was due to the beginning balance being lower than in the previous year, and all the rest of the revenues are on a fairly standard timing cycle. And so the fact that the beginning balance is about $2 million lower than the prior year is the cause of that, he believes. So just wanted to share that.
Thank you very much.
And I did also send questions about the beginning balance, how it's just fluctuated. Sometimes it's 0, sometimes it's 6 million, sometimes it's 7 million. And so I do think it might be good if, when he's back next month, if we have those discussions, unless Mr. Atkins can answer any questions about the budget or the financial reports.
What questions would you have other than what you asked him? Because
Well-
he answered your questions, didn't he?
I do believe that, again, these are the taxpayer funds, and I think that we should have the discussions in open meetings so that the taxpayers can hear that. Because I think attaching, a 73-page report, something of that nature, that changes. It might say it's $5 this month, $10 next month, $0 the month after, is not really answering any questions or being financially responsive or responsible. So I do think those are discussions that need to be had in open meeting. And so my question was about that beginning balance. And while he does answer even Ms. McCowan's questions, that's not something the whole board hears, that's not something the public hears. And again, I'm not really sure that the answer that, as you described it, and of course I didn't read his response because it didn't go to all of us, really makes a whole lot of sense. If you look at our expenses this month versus our expenses this month last year, if you look at our revenue this month versus this month last year, then we should be able to do some comparisons and have some idea where we're at and where we're going to end the fiscal year. And so I think those are discussions that really need to be had. I think when expenses are up, and again, we did end last fiscal year with our expenses exceeding our revenue by more than $3.5 million, and that may be different depending on what the beginning balance was or the beginning balance is. So you have to have that number before you can kind of subtract back and see where you are, where you started, and what the difference is. And so I think all those discussions really should be had in full view of the public. So.
Yeah, I think we can, once Mr. Smith's back, I don't know that it makes sense. Yeah.
We had those opportunities.
Yeah, that's why we put it back on the agenda. So I think with Mr. Smith not being here, we can definitely bring that back up next month. We do also have, I know that we have a work session planned where we're going to talk about the finances and stuff as well. So I think those are great opportunities. But today, with him not being here, it's hard to kind of bring it up. But yeah. All right. So all those in favor of approving February financial treasurer's report?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay. Motion passes 4-1. Do we have a motion to accept notification of personnel matters?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Wilson,
Second.
second by Ms. McCowan. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 5-0 passes. Motion to accept notification of payment of bills. Motion by Mr. Wilson.
I'll second, but I have a question.
Okay, so second by Ms. McCowan, and discussion, and you can kick it off.
Yeah, my question was on the notification of payment of bills, there was a payment for Old Tar Entertainment Company for about $4,700, I think it was. And Mr. Smith didn't know what it was. Mr. Adkins, do you know what that's for?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't know what that's for. It could be, I mean, I don't know what Old Tar Entertainment is. It could be something at one of our schools. I know we take, what's the name of the place we take our seniors or juniors to? There's a entertainment place we take them to. It wasn't Main Event. It's where they've been going every year since I've been here.
This was for $4,827.
I wouldn't have any idea.
So I guess what that leads me to is I Googled it and it looks like it's related to Manchester Music Hall. So are we doing the Superintendent Celebration of Excellence at Manchester Music Hall again?
If that's what it is.
Oh,
yes. If
maybe-
it's Manchester Music Hall, yeah. The contract was approved in,
Right, I know we approved the contract probably back in the fall, and that was to
Yep.
hold the spot for it. Didn't mean that we were going to do it, and I guess my question, it is the Manchester Music Hall, and that's where this event is being held. How come did we not consider using the new high school?
we did.
And how come we didn't use that?
It's just a large event that wouldn't necessarily be there, wouldn't work there.
So how many people do we have at the banquet? Because when we talked about this in the fall, we talked about, I mean, the cafeteria at the high school holds 500 people, I think, is what we were told. So why would we pay $4,800 to have it at Manchester Music Hall and then have to pay catering and decorations on top of that? I mean,
Simply,
that's a concern.
It's usually good to have things just outside of a school setting at times too, when you want to celebrate people. Ms. Tracy, we talked about it today. Do you have a ballpark of how many people we have? And then we invite their parents. Yep.
And again, I would say it's great to celebrate, but I do think that when you're $3.5 million in the hole last year, and I don't even know what that number is going to look like at the end of this fiscal year, that I think there are ways to celebrate that don't involve, tens of thousands of dollars. And I do believe, I'll need to go back and review that meeting, but I do believe what was approved was just to hold the spot. We didn't necessarily have to go through and have the event there or spend the money, is what we were told at that time. So I do think that's something we probably need to look into.
Well, I will say that we haven't celebrated our kids the way we normally have, and I will let you know that I have let the coaches and the teams know that I've given full credit to everybody that has been against that, opposed that. That's not a popular idea. I will say our cheerleaders have always loved to be celebrated, and I will say that our students and our teams and our coaches have always been celebrated. So with that being said, I think there was a lot of discussion. You guys are pulling on memory. I'm going to pull on memory of 3 or 4 board members that really spoke highly of this event and had attended and was in support of it.
And again, no one's saying we shouldn't celebrate. I think that your reaction is way, way overkill. We absolutely should celebrate, but I think when you end a fiscal year, $3.5 million in the hole, probably this year will be even worse. Then you need to think about, do we really need, giant curtains? Do we really need swag that we're handing out to folks? Do we really need to celebrate in ways that cost tens of thousands of dollars when we're looking at probably having cuts to staff? So as a board, we just need to be responsible for that. And I don't really want to be vilified or attacked by you tonight just because I want to have that discussion.
Well, let's back up. We're throwing a lot of numbers out. We don't have the final numbers on anything.
That was last year, Mr. Brickler, and we do have that.
That is the overkill.
Yeah, I think
That's the overkill.
I think we need to calm down and everybody just realize that we're talking about this one item right here, except notification of payment of bills. There's a question about one of those. It doesn't really seem like this is the time to say yes or no on that particular bill because it's encompassed in this whole thing. if we need to have a separate conversation about a specific event, that might be something else, but I don't know that we
I thought we
really
already
can
had
pull
that
this out,
conversation,
right?
Mr.
I mean,
Whitford.
so
I thought we'd already had that conversation.
it does seem like it's a little unclear right now on if this is a conversation about this one event, it has nothing to do with this motion.
Can I clarify just kind of where I'm coming from, just to provide some feedback to what Mr. Adkins said? So the item that's on, the notification of the payment of bills, if we're just supposed to rubber stamp it and go along and not ask any questions, why is it on the agenda? If we're not supposed to ask questions. So that's just where I'm coming from, and I'm not asking you to answer. I'm just saying, anytime I ask questions, anytime I ask, credit cards are also on our notification of payment of bills. And Mr. Adkins brought up, he's let coaches know who is opposed to this and who is opposed to that. I'm going to tell you, we've spent $18,000 probably last fiscal year on meals at Malone's, meals out to eat. We never did that before last year, before you got here, Mr. Adkins.
That's
We
right.
did
I
not
celebrate
spend that.
kids.
That's great.
I told
But I
people
think the
that when they hired me.
taxpayers, I think
celebrate kids,
taxpayers
and I will
deserve.
always celebrate kids.
Okay, let me just finish speaking, please. I do think that the public deserves to know how our tax dollars are being spent. $18,000 to go to Malone's and let people order whatever they want. I don't think that that's responsible. I don't think it's responsible to spend $10,000 on a banquet when we have a beautiful new facility here that's cost thousands and thousands of dollars. We want people to come to that high school. We want people to see what's going on. I don't think that that's a wise use of money when we're talking about uncertainty and we're talking about adding a fence or adding a gate because we now have to add a gate and do these kinds of things. I don't think that's a responsible way to spend money, and I'm going on record saying that because it's not clear. When you get notification of payment of bills, you don't know what's on there unless you really do some research and do some digging. So you can say whatever you want to teachers or you can say whatever you want to coaches, that's fine, but I'm clarifying where I'm coming from right now. The public deserves to know.
And I appreciate that, I do. But if I recall back, we also spent $40,000 to $50,000 on a sidewalk to Southside Elementary for 12 kids.
And we can get into that if you want to. That was
12
completely
kids.
not necessary.
12 kids.
Mr. Chairman, can we call?
12 kids.
Yeah,
All
12
right.
kids.
that was.
My goodness.
All those in favor of accept payment or notification of payment of bills? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
All right.
I will abstain. And the reason why I'm abstaining is I don't have enough information from, this was privy to me, so I don't know what this all looks like with the intended outcome of the celebration of kids. I remember that from last year a little bit, but I mean, that was when I was just a parent and not a school board member. So I would like to know more information before I decide one way or another of my vote. So that's why I'm abstaining at this point in time.
So, Mr. Morgan, 2 to 2 and an abstention.
So the motion fails.
Motion fails. Okay.
So we're not paying bills?
So what's the repercussion?
We're not paying bills?
This is a notification, accept notification.
Oh, so you don't have to approve it? If it's just a notification, do they have to approve this?
Mr. Morgan, could you please just
Yeah.
clarify for the superintendent?
Or for Ms. Springate either?
Thank you,
She seems
Mr.
to be
Morgan.
confused as well.
Thank you.
All right, let's let Mr. Morgan speak, please.
Yeah, I think the ramifications of this are something that we need to discuss offline in a setting that's privileged.
Okay.
But we'll can have that discussion later.
Yeah, and we may need to revisit. If it's one event that is causing this, we may need to just figure that out.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask. Can we just
Right.
pull that item out and then pay the rest of the bills as
I
they're
think they've
outlined?
already
They've
been
already been
paid.
paid.
They've al-
Okay.
they've-
Yeah.
This
the
is just
bills-
notification.
Of the
Yeah.
payment of bills.
Yeah, the bills have already been paid. This is just the board accepting notification
Oh,
of
well then,
the payment of bills, which
Right.
it is.
so it's not a
required to do,
decision of whether or not this bill's been paid. It's already been put forth in motion and paid to Manchester Music Hall. Is that correct?
That's what it sounds
Believe
like.
so.
That's what it
Okay.
looks like.
Can we revote because I did not understand that? I don't know if that's
What's the
possible.
procedure for that?
I feel like I have a lot to learn. I'm still learning, y'all.
Okay.
Still learning.
No, I appreciate you speaking up.
Yeah.
And just to clarify, I usually always vote no on this because in the auditor's report, it's clear we're not paying bills in a timely manner. And, I'm not even sure what we're paying for some of the time. you know, when we're buying gift cards for folks, I don't think that's legal. I think there's a lot of stuff that kind of goes on.
Our audits have always, we've had the auditors come and talk to us.
You can
yeah.
read through that part. It
Yeah,
clearly
yeah.
says
All
bills
right,
are not
Mr. Morgan,
paid
did you have
timely.
something else to go through?
Yeah, if you want to recall the motion, I believe your all's rules give the chair the discretion to do that if there's another motion. If there's an abstention that was in error, that was a non-vote, then she can cast her vote.
Okay. So then I make a motion to recall the vote.
I think you need to entertain a new motion
Okay.
to approve payment of bills.
So just to clarify, the bills have already been paid. This is in retrospect. This is not a question of whether or not if we're going to move forward with this activity or not. It is just, bills have been paid, we're approving the payment of the bills.
Yeah, but by accepting notification of payment of bills, you're not endorsing a policy decision one way or another on a particular bill that has been paid pursuant to a contract that would have needed to be separately approved. You are accepting, that this is the report that the board is taking, and that, the bills that are in the report were paid on the date that they say so in the report.
Okay, all right, that makes sense. Thank you. And I did look at it. I just was confused about the process of it.
So,
Chairman, I move that we accept notification of payment of bills, item C on the regular agenda.
okay, and I'll second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
All right, motion passes 3-2. All right, next we have approved minutes of the February 3rd, 2025 special called board meeting.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Wilson,
Second?
second by Ms. McCowan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Next, approved minutes of the February 24th, 2025 regular board meeting.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
All right, motion by Mr. Wilson,
Second?
second by Ms. McCowan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. All right, and then we have our added item F, which is approved code of conduct revisions. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
All right. Do I
Second.
have a second by Ms. McCowan? All right, discussion. So I believe,
Okay, so there was two things that came up, and Mr. Wells, you might be able to clarify. I just wanted to clarify before we voted on this, and two things came to mind. One was the striking, and I apologize if I don't get the exact wordage, but I believe it was on page 46 of the Code of Conduct, or 48. I can't read my chicken scratch right now. Regarding doctor's excuses, and it talked about if a student cannot be excused if the medical situation did not apply to them, like say it was a family member. And it made me think about, like, I know we're moving out of COVID times and we don't have quarantines the way we do, but we still have some pretty significant public health concerns, right? Like the measles outbreak and that sort of thing. So if a student, for example, has been exposed to something and their physician recommends, or the health department recommends that this whole family be quarantined because of how contagious, for example, measles is, or if we have any other kind of pandemic or something like that, where we have to respond quickly. It concerns me that there's not some sort of like clear kind of, and I understand we don't want to be excused for individuals who may not be sick, but a family member may be sick, but kind of having a clause where contagious diseases would allow for an excuse per maybe the health department or whatever entity would be able to decide on that, I feel like may need to be the exception in the code of conduct, unless it's, instead of it all being stricken completely.
Sure, yeah, and there's always going to be those exceptions. You know, it's difficult to write a policy that just covers every infinite number of possible medical issues that come up. This came up because we started to have some issues where a cousin, a brother, or whoever was having a medical issue. It wasn't the medical issue of the student, and so we brought it up in the committee, and the committee talked about it and pretty much unanimously felt like we needed to put something in there to kind of rein that in.
Yes,
but in regards to anything communicable, anything from the health department, anything that a doctor or the health department say this student needs to quarantine, absolutely we would work with that family and that student.
Well, I was just concerned because I didn't want families to feel like, you know, especially if families were having problems with truancy or something of that nature, maybe putting other children in danger by saying, okay, I'm just going to send my kid to school because I don't want to go, into the legal process, or hopefully people wouldn't be in that situation, but just in case they are, I don't want anything to like sway somebody from making a positive decision about that situation. So, and I understand that every kind of caveat cannot be listed in there, but I just felt like a blanket statement unless, you know, otherwise advised by the health department or CDC or something like that would capture those circumstances and hopefully be clear enough that it wouldn't be a situation like that.
And I do want to assure you, for all students, not even those where it's a health department issue or they have to quarantine, you know, any student that's reached their limit, should they continue to have medical issues, we work with those families on a case-by-case basis.
I'm very aware of that. It was more of my concern if it's not the student, but the student's been exposed to the family member who may have something going on that may result in they need to stay home. And I know that we kind of had those conversations around toward the end of COVID when things were loosening up on quarantining and that sort of thing. So that stood out to me. The other thing that stood out to me was the language that was removed about free and reduced lunch. And you guys will hear me bring this up over and over again. I really would love to see our county go back to having free lunch. And I'm still very confused about why that is a barrier at this point in time. But I noticed that was also removed. My main concern, though, was about the absence.
Yeah, and the CEP language was removed just because it's not currently factually correct.
Absolutely.
And so we want to make sure that it had the most current language.
Which I understand that. It was a caveat and side note. Really, the reason was about the excused absences and communicable diseases was my main concern. So.
All right. Any other questions or discussions on that?
Thank you for allowing me to have that conversation. I promise
Absolutely.
this has been a learning meeting. I'm going to keep on.
I
learning. It's
appreciate the
better.
board being flexible and just letting us do that when those things come up, so.
I do too. Thank you.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0.
And thank you, Mr. Wells, for explaining that. I appreciate you.
All right. So next, discussion items. So first one on there, superintendent search update. I just like to every month give an update on where we are. So just so everyone knows, the search committee that was established did have their first training on March 12th. So we got together, met each other, went through the procedures for the search committee, what that's going to look like. Tomorrow evening, we have a joint meeting with the search committee and the board to, again, meet each other, go through the process, what the expectations are, and that'll immediately be followed by the first committee meeting of the search committee after that. So short for the rest of the board, longer for myself and the other search committee members. So looking forward to that.
I don't have my calendar in front of me, but is it here at this school at 6 o'clock?
Yes.
Okay, I just
Yeah.
wanted to
So
double
we're
check.
we're trying to have everything here.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do we know the information about how many applicants there is?
Not yet. So we're going to find all that out tomorrow.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And just, I'm going to throw this out there. One of the things that's really important about this search, there are certain facts that we can share with the public. There's a lot we can't. So names, who they are, who the applicants are, that's not something we can talk about, share. Number of applicants, that's one thing that once we have that, you can talk about that certain demographic information, but a lot of it's going to be confidential, just to throw that out there. All right, the other thing that was added is SRO updates. So, Mr. Atkins, I'll turn it over to you.
I was contacted by Chief Rob Young and Mayor Laura Dake to meet with them about the SROs. We still have a partnership with them, which we have a great community partnership with them anyway. However, we have a partnership with them on the SRO at the high school and the SRO at the middle school. And I met with them and had a conversation with them, but I wanted Mr. Wells and Chief Sutton to be involved. So we met again last week, and I feel like that the general consensus was made with all of us that it would be better for us to expand our own SRO forces within, which would then free up those two officers to go back to VPD, but then be a multiplying force for our schools as well. Mr. Wells, Chief Sutton, do you want to give your take on the conversation? And I'm not exactly sure how much of this they wanted shared. That's why I was brief when I notified you guys of this. But anyway.
Yeah, I guess the only thing I'll add, my impression, I wasn't in the initial meeting, but the second meeting, there was no animosity whatsoever. I think we have a great relationship with our police department, and I felt like they kind of felt it was time to have this discussion. we're in a different place than we were 25 years ago when we first started with SROs with the police department. And so it was just a conversation. It just seemed like the right time to have it.
So this would be something where all of the SROs are employees of Woodford County Public Schools and none of them are, okay. So we
Right.
have our own police force.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously they helped us get this program started and off the ground, and now we have a pretty solid program that we can expand on.
And that was Chief Young's thoughts, that,
Yeah.
that, you know, it was kind of a help up for us to kind of learn the ropes. And I guess after 20 to 25 years, we're there. The new high school is really, I guess, giving us an opportunity to kind of broaden our horizons, and then that was just kind of where the discussion led.
What is the difference in costs? Because I know we had a partnership with them where we weren't responsible for the entire cost. There was a partnership shared cost. So what will be the difference in cost to add our own to and then to not have the partnership?
Sure, right now we pay VPD $75,000 for those two officers, which if you break it down, that's $37,500 each. To look at adding our own 2 employees would be somewhere in the neighborhood of, based on experience, based on their certifications, those types of things would be somewhere in the neighborhood of probably $48,000 to $60,000. So there's going to be $20,000 to $25,000 cost difference per officer. But also we're receiving SRO funding now that we have never received before as well. $20,000 per SRO right now, and we did receive it for them as well. So
Yeah, so for 2 officers, it's probably approximately between 80 and 120,000 total for the 2 officers.
which could be from 5 to
Yeah.
to 35,000.
And, you know, we've had, like I say, a great partnership, and financially, it's been a really, really good deal for us. But I don't think, just based on our conversation, the discount that we've gotten, I don't think is feasible moving forward. And so it probably will end up being more cost-effective just to create and hire our own.
And then what are the other drawbacks of not having an actual law enforcement officer like in the building? I know like SROs can do certain things that, I guess, are they called SRAs when it's our own force?
Yeah,
or-
these guys are qualified to do.
Yeah, they
the whole
can
thing.
do literally, I mean, they are police officers, they can do literally everything.
So they can file petitions, bring charges,
Yes.
arrest juveniles?
Yes.
They can do, they have like the same like access to like any kind of emergency kinds of like services, like the police officers, the same kind of, is all that just exactly the same? And I just ask because I just don't know. I was always told there's a difference and they're called different things, like SROs and SRAs or something like that. And if it's your own, like our, not private police force, I don't really even know how to describe it, but it's different than being like an officer for Versailles or an officer for Lexington. It's not the same. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I mean, the Versailles officers are SROs, our officers are SROs. The main difference is our SROs have jurisdiction on our campuses. They don't, well, I don't want to get too far out in the weeds, but they can do, in emergency situations, do things off our campus, but primarily they have their jurisdiction on our school campuses, whereas, Versailles officer, they aren't just an SRO, they do, they have patrol when they're not working for us in the summers, so they have other things, but for all intents and purposes, there's not really a difference.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question? Who would be in charge or tasked with hiring these new individuals?
So, well, it would be the district, and so last time it was myself working in conjunction with the school to determine, the best fit, because you want to get someone that you feel like is going to work in that environment. So now that we have a chief, my assumption would be myself and or the superintendent, along with the chief, along with the school, a representative from the school, doing those interviews to determine who's going to be the best fit for that school.
So I guess it was, I looked it up on my phone because I can't remember. It was last year. I was actually at I was there when the bill was passed. With there's been some changes to the language with the SRI where there's some allowances for individuals to be replaced. Are you familiar with those bills? that went through.
Was this-
Yeah, the
Yeah, the-
school guardian,
22 is the new
yes.
one.
It was, well, it was Senate Bill 2, that, well, it was
Yeah.
the Kentucky Guardian one.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think the intent, as I understand it, the Guardian is more for schools that may not have an SRO. It's kind of like an option.
it allows more
It
expanded
gives those
hiring.
schools that don't have an SRO an option to have someone
Yes.
in the building.
So that was going to be my next question, is can we make that a priority that we, when we look at hiring someone, because we do have options potentially to join our force, that we not open it up to that option initially, and that we do our due diligence to hire like an actual police officer in those ranks.
Instead of a guardian.
Instead of a guardian.
Yes, so should the board create those positions, I think it would be every intent to hire credentialed law enforcement officers in those positions. Yes.
Thank you.
And just to clarify, the board would create the position, so you all would have the job description, the qualifications, and all that in front of you when you vote on creating that position.
So what would happen in the meantime? Like, so the Versailles police officers that are at the middle school and the high school, and I think maybe some at Safe Harbor too, like maybe the middle school, high school also, do they help? at
We
Safe
have our
Harbor?
own officer
So
at
Safe
at
Harbor
Safe
has their
Harbor,
own.
yes.
So just middle school and just high school. What would that, I mean, what would that look like in a transition? Because, I mean, obviously, we haven't been asked to hire anyone, and we didn't even really know that was gonna happen until Mr. Morgan just mentioned it. With the creating the positions and all that kind of stuff. So what would that timeline look like? I mean, how would that work? Like, I just want to make sure we don't have like a gap when they're like, okay, well, our contract ends on this date, and then we don't have anything in place, because I know it takes a long time to get the training.
That
Or
was the
middle school and
issue.
high school is super busy.
The issue is I really didn't want to do anything with this. I wanted the new superintendent to do that. But starting July 1, they could go forward with, I guess, reappointing their officers, and would give us the opportunity then, if the jobs are created in May, to have them hired, get them trained before August when school starts back, because we don't have SROs. Our SROs do summer schools. Those two guys, those two officers did not, from what I can gather. They did a regular police patrol job with VPD during the summer.
So I have a question about the summer school appointment. Would we have more flexibility or capacity to maybe where if we already had enough coverage for the summer schools, would they be able to maybe have summers off or look at, for
Well,
funding purposes, to try to capture back some of that deficit in funds that we're going to accrue from hiring with our own force? I don't know what's needed.
I don't know what the new superintendent may want to do with that.
Okay.
So
So
I'd be afraid to
how
speak
long
on
does
it.
our contract last with Versailles Police Department, I guess is the question. How long will we have the two officers that we have now at the middle school and high school?
So based on our conversation the other day, first of all, let me say, I think they indicated they could be flexible with that, but we kind of talked about a July 1 transition date.
Okay, so it sounds like something we probably need to start thinking about and talking about. How long does the training take, like before the officer could actually be in the school? Chief Sutton?
It could be no training, it depends on what officer we hire. I've already recommended it. One, you have to be POP certified to be an SRO, which we all are. If you bring a guy in that just, let's say he retires June 30th, and comes to work for us July 1st, he can pretty much start day one full training. But say, I have to go back and look at the exact statute part of it, but if he's been out like a year, he might have to take a penal code update, which is 8 hours, firearms refresher, which is 1 day. So you're talking maybe a week.
And do we have folks that can train them, or do they have to go like EKU? How does that
The
work?
state would provide it for us. Department of Criminal Justice does that for us.
Okay.
It's like I said, it's penal code, firearms, driving. I didn't set out, so I can't tell you all off the top of my head. It's a very short span. I'm talking like 40 hours.
Gotcha.
As far as getting them. And like I said, again, they may take none. If they walk out, they retire June 30th from a different position. I would not recommend hiring a person that's not been in the academy. You're talking about a year, time you send them through basic training. and get
Oh,
them trained.
gotcha.
So we'd be looking for currently peace officer certified.
So do you think it's feasible to get somebody that is that at $48,000 a year?
That, again, depends on our training, your degrees, certifications we talked about. I mean, that's.
That sounds kind of low.
It does sound low,
Yeah, I
yeah.
don't know if that's,
Well, and it's been a little while, I apologize, because I read the bill before I knew I was gonna be doing this, but, With the SRO bill, if I remember correctly, the Guardian bill, there was some level of trauma-informed care training and intervention along with that. Is that something that we would offer in-house, or is that something?
We already do that.
Okay.
The Guardian program is basically, you're just getting an armed security guard.
Right, yes, I understand that. But for the new person, would that be part of their training that they would have to do?
We're all trauma
Okay.
informed, that's already included in our, once we do hire, their first 3 years of training requires SRO 1, which is 40 hours, 2 and 3 is 120 extra hours of training we do. The Guardian program is usually, it's really being considered more of a volunteer.
Yes,
That can be
yeah,
military.
like a, yes, yeah.
They have to do some of the same training, some of the firearm stuff. They have no arrest powers, they're just a basic armed presence at the school.
Thank you so
So,
much.
I know this is probably stupid too, but with the traffic and the police that help with that, will they still do that, or is that something separate? How does that work?
That'd be yourselves, PD question.
I feel like they help out as they are able to, right? I think that's what I've heard is that if they're not super busy, they may have somebody that can go
I don't
and
wanna speak
stand.
for them directly,
Right.
but typically, if you have 7, I'm just throwing out a number, 7 guys working,
Mhm.
they may dedicate 1 officer each school, but if you have a fatality on the
Yeah.
interstate, they're gonna get pulled. I mean,
That makes sense.
So it's kind of as they're available.
Yeah.
Again, I won't speak for them, but I'm pretty confident.
I think you're right.
All right. So it sounds like,
Yeah.
just to kind of summarize all of this, we're going to work on getting 2 positions created at some point, probably on this new superintendent's plate to do that.
I think it probably the
Right.
positions would need to be done prior to.
Yeah,
this,
Yes.
if
But-
it's July 1st,
to
right?
Give you time to get them hired and trained, yeah.
Okay. So then that's
We
something
were
that-
looking at putting it on in May.
okay.
I think that's a great idea.
Okay. So you just keep us updated as that proposal comes.
The only other thing I'll add, if it's okay, we created our department in 2018, I believe, and at that point it was new. We didn't get a large number of applicants, but I feel like we hit an absolute home run with who we hired. I mean, they're all still here, they're all still in
Yeah.
place. And I feel like, and even through the conversation with the police department, like I feel like if we end up creating 2 new positions ourselves, that we are going to have a very, very strong applicant pool for those.
Chief
Perfect.
Young
Yeah.
felt very good about that as well.
Especially if you give them summers off.
Thank you.
Be hard to turn down.
All right. Does anybody else have any questions or discussion on this?
No.
All right. Thank you both so
Thank
very
you.
much.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Last thing, well, kind of last thing. I make a motion, the board moves into an executive meeting to discuss a potential real estate transaction by the district, as the publicity would likely affect the value of the property as provided under KRS 61.8101B, which authorizes such discussions under closed session. All right. Motion by myself, second by Mr. Wilson. So we'll go into executive session.
You need to call a vote.
In favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes. All right. Motion by Mr. Wilson, second by Ms. Springate. All those, or any discussion, I guess? All those in favor?
Aye.
Second.
All right. Motion by Mr. Wilson, second by Ms. Springate. All those in favor? Aye. All right. Motion passes. Meeting adjourned.